everybody, and welcome back to the Progress Pondcast with Martin Longman and me, Brendan Squire. This is episode 28. Good to be back. The last time we talked, Marty, we were talking about the Charlie Kirk murder, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. I was actually just thinking about Charlie Kirk when I was waking up this morning. You know,
That's it's never a good thing.
I know. It's never a good. I know. Why was I thinking about him?
Yeah.
But I was other than like the week or so after after Chuck took one, the you haven't heard anything about him, have you? I mean, like I'm not on the TV news all that much, but I am on Blue Sky plenty, and I get my news online. I'm more online than I like to admit sometimes, but I haven't really seen much about like Charlie Kirk since he got shot.
It's one of those things where this is just proof that we're siloed in our own universes. Even people like us who make an effort to know what's going on in the full spectrum, but they're still obsessed. They want to turn him into a saint. They want to make a statue to him and put it in the Capitol. They want to make a national holiday. But as a national story that gets reported to everyone, it's kind of off
And
the.
that's kind of my point. I mean, when I saw the people that were freaking out in the aftermath of his death, I just saw some stuff that like to me was just absolutely, outlandish. Like grown men in absolute hysterics. Freaking
Yeah,
out.
it's like John Lennon got shot.
And I'm old enough to remember when John Lennon got shot. I was like 10 years old.
Yep.
But you when Martin Luther King got shot, you know, and they've been comparing Charlie there to Martin Luther King.
Oh,
Like entire
absolutely.
cities went up in flames. I saw the James Brown documentary that was on Netflix a few years ago, and they had this whole chunk about how he was playing Boston, and a couple days after a couple days right after King got shot,
Yeah.
and cities were going up in flames, and the mayor of Boston called Brown's people, and he was like, "Please call off the concert, call off the concert." And James Brown was like, "No, no, 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 I'm not going to call it off." And what he did, he used that concert to calm down the city of Boston. It was one of the only cities that didn't burn.
Yep.
And I guess what I'm getting at there is Martin Luther King was a truly historic figure. And, you saw this sustained reaction to his assassination. He was a truly important, like really, actually, really, really important person with a sustained momentum. And it just strikes me as interesting and that was national news for a long time. And, you know, I'm not seeing the reverberations, the historic reverberations of Charlie Kirk when he's out of the news, the national news within a week.
Yeah.
And I think so much
It's
of
like
that is
everything
just,
today.
and I think so much of that is just reflective of how conservative and right wing hysteria gets amplified to be something more than it maybe necessarily is.
Yeah, I
Um,
can see that for sure.
so that's but as we were saying in general, everything since Charlie Kirk's murder has gotten worse, of course, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
nothing gets better here anymore.
Nothing ever gets better.
Nothing gets better.
Every day is the worst day of our lives because every day is worse than the day that came before.
Oh my God. Someday it'll be over. Someday it will be over.
Yes.
It wasn't all bad. I ran a half marathon in the interim.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good. I couldn't do that.
My the lovely Elizabeth, the lovely and talented Elizabeth and I ran a half marathon back in Newport, Rhode Island, back I guess about 2 weeks ago.
Uh,
So that was a lot of fun. But after that, of course, then the government shut down. And actually, even before that, I think the government shut down. It's been shut down for, geez, I can't remember when it was opened at this point.
you can actually bet on like online betting, like when it'll reopen. And I was looking at that, and you can't get any kind of odds on it opening anytime soon.
Oh yeah, I know, I know.
You know,
And we're probably going to talk about that, but one thing that I know it hasn't the shutdown has not affected is ICE. And before we well, I guess we have a lot to talk about, but now is as good a time as any. I have a very good friend who lives in Chicago who has kept me posted with what's going on. It's kind of like a running. We have a running group chat. Him and I and another buddy of ours from growing up. I went over some of these today and asked if I could share some on the show, and He said, "Yeah, here we came up with a good one." This is from Friday, October 3rd. Today in Illinois, from my buddy. State cops giving cover and hands-on, and in some cases masked assistance to ICE as they continue to attack, assault, kidnap unarmed people in Broadview. ICE scum physically detained an alderman who is protecting a hospitalized victim of a federal illegal assault. ICE scum stuck in regular lunchtime traffic discharges tear gas on crowded Chicago street in close proximity to a public school. That was one of them. And then here's the there is no bottom to my anger at everything in Chicago and beyond, but especially Chicago right now. ICE Nazis deployed tear gas as a final fuck you in Wrigleyville, the wealthy condoized neighborhood surrounding Wrigley Field, after kidnapping a couple of laborers. They also attacked and kidnapped a comedy club manager and his mom at 9 a.m. today. Not sure if the mother ended up in custody. Not that I'm saying white people should be immune here, but the fact that these two assault victims in particular, are white is worth noting. They are coming for all of us, and so many people do not understand that at all.
yeah,
S-
he's uh
So,
he's not happy.
no, I can't imagine he is. This is the father of two young children, I might add. Hi, folks. It's Brendan. Thanks for listening to the Progress Pondcast. If you like what you hear, we'd love your support. Liking, sharing, and subscribing is great, but the best way to keep us afloat? That's through a monthly donation, as little as $5 a month through Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com Progress Pondcast. Don't forget that N when you're typing that out. Thanks again for listening. We appreciate all your help. What do you say about that, man?
What
What
do I say about it?
what do you say about that? You have fucking
Well, I
black
think
shirts. You have black shirts running around Chicago.
that's really what it comes to mind to me is, in the previous examples, the most famous examples, which would be Italy and Germany, where you had like a fascist takeover, there were there were actually people in the streets,
Hmm.
ruffians, thugs, organized to go out and fight other people and to intimidate people. And uh, we don't, America does everything a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
But in this case, you have, they're hiring very unqualified people that are lowering the standards.
Before you get going on that, folks, if you want to read more about this is at your Substack now, right?
Yeah, I got a new Substack.
Martin has a new Substack. Martin, give us the name of the Substack and the article you're referring to, because you wrote a great Martin wrote a great piece on this on Iron Force, and you got to read it. Martin, give him the
It's
website for that.
Iron
Iron
Front.
Front. Sorry.
Yeah. So my new Substack is martinlongman.substack.com. And the article that I'm talking about here is what the last throes of the Weimar Republic can teach us. And in that thing, I'm talking about something I think that's kind of interesting, which is um, as the Weimar Republic came to its end, you had these running fights in the streets between basically three different groups of thugs. So you had the Nazis on the one side, and you had the communists on the other side. And the communists were actually like, the anti-fascists. So they're Antifa.
Yeah.
And and then though you had these people in the middle from the Social Democratic Party, which is like a established center left party of trade unionists, um, that supported the republic, and they didn't want a communist revolution, and they didn't want a dictatorship, and they didn't want a restoration of the monarchy. So they just wanted the republic to continue, and but they realized that they needed to have their own paramilitary force, and so uh,
Yeah, because you
yeah,
can't fight back if you don't have your own
yeah,
people to fight. Yeah,
yeah. So
I
so
get
this
that.
this was known, well, in English it's translated as the Iron Front, and they would go out and they would fight communists with the same enthusiasm that they fought Nazis. Um, and tough guys, you know. And the
Yeah.
thing is, they're pretty closely aligned with the actual political party, you know. Just like the SA of the Nazis were very closely aligned with the Nazis, and the Antifa folks are very closely aligned with the Communist Party. So, um, in that sense,
So these
ICE,
centrist goons were these were goons, but they were goons who were on the
yeah, I
of
mean,
the
when,
position on keeping the actual keeping well, the Antifa goons are all communists. The Nazi goons are Nazis,
yeah,
and the Iron Front folks are basically like, no, we're just trying to hold it together, and we're fighting about that.
yeah, but so if you
Not
compare
to
to
oversimplify.
if you compare it to America in the current what we're living through, it's like the Democratic Party had their own paramilitary force out in the streets fighting against Antifa and fighting against uh, ICE, I
Proud Boys.
guess,
Yeah,
basically ICE,
yeah.
right?
ICE, Proud Boys. What's the difference at this point?
Yeah, Proud Boys. Yeah. Well, if you want to take it out of the official government thing, it would be like Proud Boys and people like that. Um, so anyway, um, when you talk about what's going on in Chicago and all across the country with ICE, you know, these people are masked up. They're not normal government officials. They're rolling up in vans and throwing people in vans and not telling people where they're taking people, and they're just generally acting in a lawless and certainly lack of transparent way, you know.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Yeah.
I see
Um,
I post video after video of this stuff on Instagram. It's all over the place there.
Now they say there's this big Antifa problem, but there really is there's no running street fights from Antifa or anything ideologically aligned with Antifa. There's people out there protesting.
The closest I've come to that is like literally neighbors protecting their neighbors. I've seen plenty of
Yeah.
footage of neighbors, just regular people who
Yeah.
look like freaking dad. I saw one video just yesterday, and it was like a whole group of people in whatever the heck neighborhood it was, wherever, whatever city, and it was like dads and moms in their pajama pants.
That was in Chicago, and the guy was wearing Chicago Blackhawks pajamas, and that was hilarious.
That
Eh,
one was great, but there's
Yeah.
others like that. It's not.
Oh yeah,
I know the
no.
one you're talking about. The guy where
Yeah.
he's like just unloading.
Yeah.
That one is
Yeah. But he like
fantastic.
rolled out of his house in his jammies,
Yep.
you know, his Chicago Blackhawks jammies, like grown man. And he's just furious and he's just calling them pussies and saying, show your face and get the fuck out. And I've seen plenty of that. I mean, months ago, that was started in Los Angeles where people were doing the same thing.
Have you seen the one of the cop unloading on them?
No, I don't think I have.
They're harassing this cop outside of a courtroom, and he's brown, and he is just like going on and on. He's like,
Wait,
I'm a
who
cop.
the cop is going off on ice?
The cop is going off on ICE and Border
Okay.
Patrol. He's like, I'm here to do my job. Get the fuck away from me. Do your job. All you have time to do is harass people. What is wrong with you? Are you sick in your head? It's it's amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like that are showing a lot of bravery, and
Oh
you
yeah.
got to give them credit.
Absolutely. And I am not the biggest fan of cops, as you might imagine, but seeing someone go off on these fascist motherfuckers, you're a friend of mine,
Yep.
you
Well,
know?
and that's getting to my point, because what happened with the Iron Front is they're operating in a bad situation that I think we can recognize, which is the Weimar Republic kept having gridlock because they couldn't sustain majorities to do legislation. So they kept having, it's a parliamentary type of system. So you have these lack of confidence things, and you'd have the government fall because they couldn't pass a
Yeah.
budget. They couldn't pass a budget, right?
Gee, where have I heard that before?
Yeah. So they didn't have like the same kind of mechanism of a government shutdown, but we don't have a mechanism of just dissolving parliament and doing a do-over because that might help. But we're stuck with the Congress that we have until after the midterm elections. So we can't
Yep.
solve it that way. But in their situation, it kept the public quite rightly was like, look, we got terrible economic situation, hyperinflation, and we got a parliament, a legislature that's paralyzed, that can't do anything. And so people lost faith that this parliament was worth anything. Okay. And this Iron Front is saying, we're out in the streets defending this. We're defending this government, but the government's
Yeah.
not working. So you have a situation where they can't pass a budget, and the public is losing faith, and they don't, the people saying let's keep the status quo are at a big disadvantage. Um, and so what happens is Hitler gets appointed as the chancellor, and the communist guys, the Antifa guys, they come to the center left guys, which are kind of like the Democrats, and they
Yeah.
say, let's have a general strike. Let's just shut everything down. These freaking Nazis are taking over. Let's just shut everything down. And the guys in the Iron Front who are listening to their party leaders, they're like, no,
Yeah.
let's not be irresponsible. Let's not be rash here. Let's there's been a new chancellor. You got to give him a chance,
Oh my
type of
God.
thing. Right?
So keep going because this is connecting things to my brain that I want to say in a minute, but keep going, keep going. This is all just like so much of this is just rhyming
Yeah, it totally
me.
rhymes,
Oh, so
which is why
rhymes.
I write about it.
Yeah.
And so what happens is there's some element of like negotiation, like, well, if you communists would get rid of these two or three really objectionable leaders that you have, maybe we could work with you. And they're like, fuck you, you're not doing that. So basically nothing happens. There's no general strike, there's no coordination between the communists and the center left.
Yep.
They sit around bickering,
Bickering.
and then like a month later, there's the Reichstag fire, and they blame the Reichstag fire on the communists. They ban the communists. They arrest their leaders.
They banned the trade unions.
Well, so then the next thing is, yeah, the trade unions are kind of the base of the center left party, and they ban them, right? So now they they waited around. Granted, they only had like a little over a month, but they waited around. They didn't do anything. They didn't coordinate, and they bickered amongst themselves. And then they just got decimated. They were, they no longer were viable
Yep.
political parties at that point. And what this reminded me of, and I think you wanted to talk about this, was what's going on with the mayor election in New York.
That's exactly what I was thinking about that, and there was yeah. I just want to get back to that, but I want to talk about that real quick. But then I want to get back onto various risks, payoffs of the shutdown because you there was something that you mentioned in particular that I want to get back to about what public reaction, how that may go. But yeah, I wanted to say that rhymes because this whole that whole thing that the various factions of the left during Weimar couldn't get it together, um, is so reminiscent of where we are now. And I remember years ago, man, years ago, before we were even podcasting, you made this remark. I think it was when Clinton got defeated. You were like, you mentioned the right wing in this country is just absolutely deplorable, but the left is irredeemable.
Yeah.
And you were absolutely right about that. I remember laughing about it at the time and being like, yeah, in a very general way, like, yeah, you're right. But it has become clearer and clearer. And I brought this example up before. That reminds me of an incident during the Biden campaign when Biden was called out, by progressives and by the left over the Hyde Amendment, which is a federal amendment introduced by Henry Hyde, passed by Henry Hyde way back in the 90s, that forbids any federal government funding be used for abortion.
Right.
And reproductive rights people like me, for example, have wanted that gone for forever, forever. And Biden was called out about this on the campaign trail, and his first reaction was, no, why would I do anything about that? And everybody got
Yeah.
real mad, and legitimately so.
Right.
I was real mad. I was like, what the fuck, dude? And so he gets all this pushback, and he's like, well, if it's that important, then to hell with it. Fuck the hell, to hell with the Hyde Amendment. I'll get rid of it.
Yeah.
And he followed, and to his credit, dude, he followed through. He followed through. His party freaking screwed him over. They passed. He took it out of the budget. He completely wrote out the language, and then it got reinserted in 2022. But it wasn't him that had anything to do with that. So I'm not, whatever. He followed through. But that's not the point. So he says, okay, I'm fine. To hell with the Hyde Amendment. You would think the reaction would be like, yay, good. Thank you. Thanks,
Yes.
man. You just stood up. No, no. It's like, you did it the wrong way. You suck. You suck.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded
You
of
didn't
that.
feel it in your soul.
You didn't feel it exactly. Oh, so why am I saying this? Because I'm looking at the New York mayoral election, and
Yeah.
everybody, including me, has been rightfully upset about the reluctance of Hakeem Jeffries to endorse Zoran Mamdani
Well,
and
he and Schumer
Schumer,
and many other
many others,
Democrats.
and like, and the head of the New York City Democrats, I guess, threatened to resign over
New
Hochul's.
York State.
New York State.
Yeah.
He threatened to resign over Kathy Hochul's endorsement. That was a month ago. We haven't heard anything since, so it doesn't look like he followed through. The A lot of people talk big when they're mad, and then they kind of quietly back away, maybe. But anyway, so just like the other day, maybe 2 days ago, 3 days ago, at this point, I don't know. Jeffries finally endorses Mom Donnie,
Yep.
right? Finally does it. My reaction, because I am a normal human being, is like, finally, dude. Yes, thank you. Good job. Good job, my dude. That has not been the reaction that I have seen online. No, no. The very involved people are like, ah, you didn't do it the right way. Ah, 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 screw you. Too little, too late.
Yep.
Ah. And I'm just like, what you're saying here about the situation in Weimar, it's like the same thing.
Right.
It's like, you should be like, yeah, good. Let's cool. Now let's close ranks. And instead, it's like, no, 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 no.
Exactly.
Ugh, it is
Exactly.
just, yep. So anyway, I
And
just wanted to,
it's like in this situation, it's like we got one problem, and that's what's going on with the White House. Like everything is secondary to that. Now,
everything.
Mandami, to his credit, he realizes that's not how the average person sees it. They're worried about the cost of living.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
he's laser focused on that. And that's why he's being so successful. Okay.
Yep.
I'm not saying that the politics is behind making everything about fascism. I'm saying that the reality is about making everything about fascism.
I understand.
And so you've got a guy that he's pretty far to the left. And some of the people they're uncomfortable with some of the things that he has said about Israel, and that might be their main problem. But there's a whole lot of other people that are not comfortable with some of the policies that, free buses for everybody and rent control and all these types of things. People have real policy, Democrats
Hmm.
have real policy issues because the guy is, a socialist. And so in the Weimar terms, he would be more like on the communist group, in that faction, and they would have he would be in a different party than the Democrats
Yes, very
in a
much.
parliamentary system. He and Barry Sanders and AOC and all these people, they would be in a different party, but in
If
our
this
system,
was,
they're in the same party.
if we were in Canada, they would be in the NDP,
Okay, well, I'll take your
The
word
New
for it.
Democratic Party.
But in this system, whether you're in a different party or you're in the same party, at a certain point you got to come together. You got to put aside certain differences, and you got to say we got to be united here. We can't be wasting our time bickering over whether we agree with someone's policies, whether
Yep.
they're too far left or whatever. You can fight that out in City Hall.
Yep. We can talk about buses whenever you want.
Yeah, you can fight that out in City Hall and Albany, legislature. That's where you fight that out. And but no, and so part of the problem with Jeffries is it is that he took so goddamn long, because it's like you're sending a message like for months here that there's something wrong with this guy and all of this. And he got something out of it. I think his big thing was he got Mandani to promise to keep the police commissioner. And so that was like something Jeffries could say, well, once he agreed to that, then I agreed to endorse him. And that's fine. He got,
Yeah,
he held out to get something.
that's
And
fine.
and I
That's
and I
politics.
yeah, that's politics. And I understand that. And also, part of the other thing was that once he decided to endorse him, he didn't want to pre-endorse him. He was, you're going to have an event, where you
Yeah.
announce it. And then he did an interview, and it's like, are you going to endorse him? He's like, well, I don't want to say, because he didn't want to preempt his own,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then people got all upset all over again.
Yeah.
But, uh, but really the larger point here is that, whether it's people, when I talked about the left being irredeemable, I was more talking about the people that were too pure to vote for Hillary. So it cuts both ways.
Yeah.
Right? It cuts both ways. It's like, yeah, sometimes it's people on the far left who are, the Democrats are so lousy that I can't support them. And then sometimes it's the centrist, like mainstream Democrats who are like, I can't support this guy because he's for free buses. Um, so it's
That's very funny. We have two very, very different takes on the same
all right. Well, what's
on
your
the
take?
same event. Well, my take is more that, like, even when he does do the right thing, Jeffries, that is, even when
Yeah.
he does do what people wanted him to do, he still gets brickbats for it.
Yeah.
And your point of view is like, yeah, but he took fucking forever, dude. And it
Well,
sends a bad message.
it's
And the thing is they're very different views, but they're compatible, and they're not
here's
indefensible views.
here's how
They both
here's
apply.
here's how we see eye to eye. I don't care that it took him too long. When he does it, I'm not going to harp on that.
That's exactly where I. Yep, exactly.
It's like, yeah, I agree with you. It took too long. The whole point here is let's have some unity. So now when we have some unity, you want to immediately create disunity.
That is my problem with those people.
There you go. So
That is my problem.
it might seem like we disagree, but we do not.
Yep. Yep. Oh no, I wasn't saying we were disagreeing. I was just saying we were coming at it from recognizing how we were coming at it from two different angles and still arriving at the same the same harbor.
Right.
Hey everyone, it's Brendan again. If you're like me, and I know I am, you enjoy getting an honest take on the news. That's why you listen to the Progress Pondcast. But I'm not just one of the hosts. I'm the guy behind the curtain doing the edits and cuts and everything else that keeps the podcast going. And I'm asking for your support on Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you won't just help us grow our audience. You'll help update and maintain our equipment, stuff like hard drives, microphones, and more. You can find us at patreon.com/progress pondcast. Don't forget that N when you search for us. Thanks again for your love and support. Over and out.
So here's the other thing that I was talking about, how the Iron Front was at this disadvantage because they were supporting the Republic and the Republic just wasn't functioning. And we have a government shutdown right now. And so the government's not functioning. So anybody who's out there saying, you know what, these people are radicals and we're reasonable people and we support tradition and we support Congress and we support a normal budget process and all that. Those people are in a tough situation because when the government cannot operate and they can't pass a budget and services are stopped, then people start going, well, I don't see what the point is in defending that. Like, we need some other solution.
Mm-hmm.
And if that solution is a strongman dictator who makes all the budgeting decisions himself, then eventually they're going to support that. And that's why the Trump administration has no problem with this government shutdown,
Oh, none.
because it works in their favor.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, I wrote another piece a couple weeks ago saying that the Democrats should allow the Republicans to get rid of the filibuster and just fund the government themselves. And that,
I have a tangent on that too.
yeah. And that seems counterintuitive because I just said, is the government doesn't work, right? But here's why it makes sense. Number one, that would make the government work.
Yep.
Because the
Yeah.
Republicans would have no more excuse for keeping the government shut down, since there would be no more obstacle to them passing whatever budget they want. Right? So it would get the government reopened. The second thing is that the whole reason I said not to do it is because we don't want to morally fund this. We don't want to fund the Pentagon bombing people in the middle of the ocean without any due process.
With no due process, no congressional oversight, nothing.
Nothing. Just
Nothing.
murdering people on their say so. We don't want to fund that. We don't want to fund the way ICE is behaving.
We do not want to at all. No.
No. I mean,
We don't want to fund the military taking over our cities.
No. There's things about what Health and Human Services is doing that we really don't want to say is okay by funding it. There's the way the Justice Department is being used to go after Trump's personal enemies and just arresting people on trumped up charges that we don't want to support. We don't want to fund that
At
to
all.
let them fund it morally.
Yep.
Because once we start funding it, then we're basically saying, we're just like, I also compared it to, like, remember the Harlem Globetrotters would play the Washington Generals?
Yes,
And the
there was
Washington
a great
Generals
article you did about that too.
They would just get paid to lose, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what you're doing. You're basically saying, we're always going to lose, but we're going to play anyway. And
it's ridiculous.
So you can't, there's a whole bunch of reasons why they can make whatever promises they want. Like, they could go ahead and cave in on the Obamacare subsidies, which are the ostensible cause of the shutdown. And they could just cave and say, okay, we'll give you that. But then, all right, we take that win and we reopen the government, and now we're funding murder on the high seas, and we're funding ICE in the streets, and we're funding a completely politicized Justice Department, and we don't want to do that.
I have been saying for months now, weeks, and I've said it before. The Republicans have the power to pass their budget by themselves if they nuke the filibuster.
Right.
And they don't want to because they want our fingerprints on it as well. They want to be able to point to the Democrats and be like, well, you support it too, blah, blah.
Right.
And like, absolutely, that's absolute. It's nonsense, and it cannot be allowed to happen.
Right.
And they do not, they can do this. They can and I have been tormenting, absolutely tormenting Dave McCormick's office over this now for ever since this started. Every time another cut comes out, another funding stoppage comes out from their shutdown, another vindictive retribution piece at the blue states as a result of this shutdown, I just call up and remind them that their office that you're hurting your own people. This is not a good look for you. People remember this. People are going to look at you like this. It's and always, constantly, this is your budget. You can pass it. And I'll give McCormick's office a little bit of credit. McCormick has people answering the phone. John Fetterman's just goes straight to voicemail. Nobody's answering the phones in any of his office. McCormick sometimes has someone answer the phone. And they tried to defend it and tried to say, one guy tried to tell me it was the Democrats' fault
Yeah.
and that the Democrats hold the keys to this. And I was like, absolutely not. You guys run the government. He was like, and with that one, that one, after this guy told me he was tried to tell me the Democrats controlled the whole thing and it was all up to them. And I wrote a letter. I emailed McCormick's office going over the fact that the rules to change the filibuster are just simple majority,
Yeah.
and they can do this anytime they want. And I
It's
put it,
called the nuclear.
I
It's
framed
called
it
the
as,
nuclear option.
yeah, I mentioned that it had been used twice, under Harry Reid and McConnell. I was disappointed that your staff member either was apparently ignorant of this fact, and I can't believe you would hire someone so ignorant of the way government works. I was like, please do better next time.
Right.
Please make this person sit down and then I called back later and I got the same guy and he wasn't as combative anymore.
That's great.
Oh, it was
Uh,
wonderful. But then the other thing to continue with the shutdown thing, it's not just that we cannot put our fingerprints on this morally, although John Fetterman appears happy to. Um, the We can't do it as just a matter of we can't even trust them to uphold their promises at this point.
See, that's
What
the
with
key.
the impoundments and the rescissions, we've already seen money that was previously appropriated um, cut off, stopped, not spent. And
Right.
so we can't even, and I said that to them at one point too, to McCormick's office, and that one shut them up really quick. I was like, this and that. They're like, well, blah, blah. And I was like, but we can't even trust you. What
That's the
about the
key.
impoundments and the rescissions? We can't trust you guys to uphold your bargain. How can,
And
you know,
for the listeners, let me explain this just very briefly, right? So you had a near shutdown in the spring, and then the Democrats and the Republicans come to an agreement on spending, and they pass an extension to keep the government funded based on this agreement.
and Chuck Schumer got his ass roasted for that,
Yeah, he
lit
did.
on fire,
Yes, he did. And
deservedly so.
and well, we differ on that, but but he got heavily criticized for that. But here's the problem: they made a deal, and then all of a sudden the administration said, "Well, we're not going to spend money on NPR. We're going to shut it down. We're going to, the agreement had spending levels, and they just didn't respect those.
Yep.
That's the problem. So if we make a deal with them and then say, okay, we're going to fund, I don't even care what department it is, the Department of Energy is going to get this amount of money. And then they're like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you can't do that. So number one, there's a whole legal thing about what the administration can and cannot do. But aside from that, there's the Democrats can't trust them that they will honor any deal. So one of the main reasons for here's how it works. The whole point of the filibuster from the minority's point of view is it gives them influence. Like they get to have a say in how money is spent.
Yes. Yep.
That's the whole reason you
The
don't want to
whole
give it
reason.
away. You
Yep.
don't want to give it away because then you don't have any say at all. Just like in the House minority has no say, right? But in the Senate, they have a say. So you don't want to just give that up. But if they don't respect the deal, then that isn't worth anything.
Exactly.
And if it's not worth anything, then all you're doing is saying, here's your money for the Justice Department so you can prosecute James Comey and Bolton and Letitia James and anybody else you don't like.
Yep. Here's your money to let little kids die in ICE custody.
Here's your money for bombing people, bombing fishermen off the coast of Venezuela. Here's your money for kidnapping people off the street of Chicago. Here's all that money.
Yep. Here's your
And
money to occupy
and then we're
Portland.
going to complain about it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And
Like,
then we'll complain uselessly.
and then we're going to wonder why our base is unhappy, and we're going to wonder why independents don't believe that we're going to change their lives for the better. Like, politically, morally, the whole thing, it's a dead end. And so at this point, there's no value in keeping the filibuster for the purposes of having say over the budget. There just isn't. And guys like Fetterman even agree, but their argument is just like just get rid of it so you can fund the government, keep it
Yeah.
open. But
Yeah,
uh,
Fetterman, his whole point of view is that it's never good for the government to shut down,
he's
which
right
is
about
just
that.
such a,
I mean,
I mean,
he's right about that. It's never good.
he it's never good, but
Yeah,
like, it's also never good to have your arm amputated. But
yeah,
sometimes you have to do that because
yeah.
otherwise the cancer will spread.
Right.
You know, the
No, I'm not
you
saying
know,
Fetterman's right on the whole. I'm saying
oh, I know.
what
I
he's
know.
saying is ordinary people are getting hurt and are going to get hurt worse when the government's shut down, and we got to get it reopened. And on that, I agree, and I agree with him also that the way to do that is to get rid of the filibuster. We just have different reasons for agreeing to that,
Yeah.
you know. Um, so yeah. Anyway, I mean, that's my real point. And so to just reiterate one thing is it's not risk free because the 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 thing the thing is as things are going on right now, as long as the government can't pass a budget and it's closed down and people aren't getting their services, it's undermining faith in Congress, and that gives fuel to support for dictatorship. And that's exactly what happened in Weimar.
Yeah, that
And
is.
I think what people don't understand is what I'm saying is getting rid of the filibuster is a way of kind of avoiding just languishing in this situation where things just get worse
Yeah.
and support for the status quo just erodes because people ultimately aren't going to clamor for a return to normal if there's no path to normal,
Yeah. Tell me about it.
right? Eventually, they're just going to say, just open the fucking government and let the president decide how the money's spent since Congress can't agree.
Yeah.
That's what's going to
That's
happen. And that's what they're banking on.
it is an ugly
So
situation, man.
it's incredibly ugly.
It is just an ugly, ugly fucking situation.
So the one other thing I want to talk about before we go, because you and I, uh, by the time people read this, they'll know who won the Giants Eagles game. But for us, we want to watch it.
Yeah, I want to watch that game.
Yeah. So we want to wrap up, but I just want to say that the whole ballroom thing,
Oh
we haven't
God.
talked about the ripping down of the East Wing
Oh,
and
that that that's after all the other shit, it's almost like the least of the things. But he ripped down the fucking East Wing.
yeah,
What the fucking fuck, dude?
right,
That's fucking insane.
insane.
He and oh my god, I was listening to Heather Cox Richardson about it today. I brought it up earlier, dude. She's like, I'm convinced it was just a temper tantrum over the no kings thing. She's like, it was just a temper tantrum. There was no, she's like, there was no going through. She's like, there's no real plans. And I think it came out. I might be wrong here, but I think it came out that the interior plan doesn't match the exterior plan.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, it's all messed up.
it's so, I don't even know what to say.
Listen, I one day there's going to be, I hope, hearings on all of this,
Oh,
Um,
oh God,
I
there
kind
have
of
to
was
be.
thinking like Richardson for a minute, and then all of a sudden they released this donor list that was like Meta, Alphabet, like
Apple.
Hard Rock, I don't know if maybe Apple, I don't
No,
know.
Apple's on there.
Is Apple on there?
Oh
It's
yeah,
like all the major
all the
corporations
big
have given
corporations,
money for him to do this, according to the White House.
fucking
So
dickbags.
that means that this has been going, this wasn't a temper tantrum, because if it were a temper tantrum, we wouldn't have all this corporate funding lined up. Like, this has been in the works. But as for, how are we going to do this? Well, someone told them, oh, you have to go through all these processes, and there has to be public comment, and there has to be contractors have to be vetted, and like, well, all this stuff that according to obey the law. And he's just like, oh, that'll take forever. Fuck that.
Right out the window.
Let's just rip it down,
Right
and
out the
then
window.
once it's gone, like, it's
I
gone.
was I was I was going to say it could actually be both. It could have been something that's been in the works for a while, and he just fucking freaked out and was just like, "Ah!"
Yeah, just tear it down,
So
tear it
it can be
down.
both. It can be both in the works and a temper tantrum.
I agree. I agree. Absolutely. That might be the best explanation. It also is like the Epstein avoidance thing,
Oh my God.
right? Like, so that's why
Oh,
some people are like, name it the Epstein ballroom,
I
because
know,
it's
David.
like, how do I get people to stop talking about Epstein? I'll just tear down a third of the White House just overnight with no
Oh,
notice. I'll just do that because people will
and
talk about that for sure instead of Epstein.
and we haven't. We're like coming up on the time where we gotta sign off, and we haven't even touched on the poo poo plane with the Burger King crown over the No Kings protesters. I mean,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just one effing thing after the next.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, and now he's mad, and then we haven't even talked about the extra tariffs on Canada because they ran the Ronald Reagan ad where they
They quoted
actually
Ronald Reagan.
they actually played footage of Ronald Reagan saying things Ronald Reagan actually said about tariffs.
Right.
Surprise, he didn't like them. He was a bog standard Republican.
Yeah.
Didn't like tariffs. Big surprise there. I
Yeah.
saw Trump today. I saw footage of him lying out of his ass. Right, Reagan never liked the tariffs.
He said it was
Dude.
artificial intelligence too. He claimed that like Ontario made a fake video.
Oh my
They even
God.
got the Ronald Reagan Library to claim that they were
I saw that.
distorting
I
it.
saw that. I was just the humiliation these people are. I mean, my God.
That wouldn't have
These
happened when Nancy was alive. I can tell you that.
No, no.
Yeah,
So
she did not care
before
for Trump.
I'm going to make one observation about these people, and then I'm going to plug our new single, and then we're going to get out of here.
All right.
Um, there was a fellow who used to come to drinking liberally. I don't name names because I don't kink shame, but he was a kinkster. And I remember leaving Tangiers, um, which
Where
is
we
where we
used
used to
to,
hold, which
well,
is where we used to have drinking liberally back in the 2000s. And he and I were walking back to our respective vehicles to go home. Where our friend and I are walking past this row house, and it's got a little red light on the porch. And we walk by, and he's like, "That's a dungeon." And I was
really?
like, "Really? How do you know?" He's like, "You don't want to know how I know."
Oh no.
And I see these, and we talked later, and he was into the whole dungeon thing. And I see these freaking Republicans, these powerful Republicans, and these powerful elites, and these billionaires, and the way they act when it comes to like this freaking elderly old man who's just crumbling. And they're like the biggest subs you've ever seen in your life. My God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. The cheese. It's
I did
just
not know you were going to go there, but that's funny
these
as
are
shit.
like the biggest subby subs in my life. And I wouldn't ordinarily kink shame because whatever turns you on, but these motherfucking subs are ruining the rest of our lives. They play these big games as if they're alpha this, alpha that, and they are not. They are the most beta little squirming little bootlicking worms.
And you know what the other half of that is? To be a bootlicker, you have to have the person wearing the boots.
You have to have the
You have
person
you
wearing
have
the
to have the
boots.
sadists.
Oh, you absolutely have to. And I can, you know who the sadists are,
Yeah.
but sometimes the sadists and the subs kind of they switch off a little bit. That's a thing in there. In there, these people are
Yeah, like
these.
what's JD Vance, right?
What's Stephen Miller?
Oh, he's a sadist.
Oh, he's absolutely a sadist. But you
Yeah.
can imagine, yeah, he's a sadist.
He's a
He's a
sadist.
sadist.
JD Vance, though, I'm not sure. Like he might be a bootlicker until he gets a chance to be a sadist, and then he's a sadist.
Switch. He
Yeah,
switches on and off.
yeah.
Uh,
And then there's
uh,
Lindsey Graham.
then there's
Lindsey Graham.
Mike Johnson.
Oh, he's a sub.
Mike Johnson. I mean, that's I don't even want to think what goes on in that man's closet, man. There's some weird shit in there.
Oh
There's some
my
weird
God.
shit there.
Yeah, he's
Somebody
got that
pointed
whole
out,
thing with his son about where they pay each other when they watch porn or something. I don't know.
yeah, they got that. The someone pointed out that when he you can always tell when he's lying because he blushes. He turns bright red, and I started noticing that. I watched a clip of him a couple days ago, and sure enough, he was saying some nonsense about why he couldn't, see Grijalva, and his face just went redder and redder and
Yeah.
redder. The stupider
I
it was that
haven't
he said.
seen it. I have not watched it. I don't know what you're talking about. It's like red as a beet.
Oh, we can't see her today. Today is special hat day, and as you can see, no one's wearing the special hat.
Yeah.
We can't do it tomorrow. There's a birthday party for one of the staffers. We're all going to be in a well Friday, and who works on Friday? Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. They actually, yeah, they haven't called the House into session for a month just because if they do, they'll vote to force the release of the Epstein files, and that would be embarrassing.
Oh, it'd be bad. And of course, with Trump going out there and so, Trump reportedly saying, I'm the president and the speaker, you
Right.
know.
Which he
Oh,
is.
God. Anyway,
Anyway, we gotta
before we get
go.
out of here, I wanted to plug the No Good Crowd. We have a new single out. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all the other places you find music. Tidal probably has it too.
What's it
Pardon.
called?
It's called Sky Song. This one's really cool. Our guitar player Jamie wrote this. He got the idea from Towns Van Zandt used to refer to songs that you would just pop into your head as the Sky Song, and it's actually really cool because we recorded the entire thing in studio in one take.
Oh, nice.
Um, they were actually all supposed to be scratch takes, including the vocals, and we caught everything on the first take. And the only thing we added later was the keys. We overdubbed the keys, but hopefully by the time I publish this, I'll have gotten a wave of that, and I'll be able to close out with Sky Song. But in the meantime, this has been Progress Podcast episode 28. Our music is provided by the Royal Hounds from Nashville, Tennessee. They have a new album out live at Roberts. Please give it a listen because it is freaking amazing. Let's see, what else do I got to say? Please support us on Patreon. You've heard our ads in the beginning and the middle of the show. You can find us at Patreon /Progress Pondcast. You can sign up for as little as $5, $5 a month. And we are finally saving up for brand new microphones. We are about halfway there. We're going to get those fancy ones like Joe Rogan and Mark Maron use so we can get better sound. So, yeah,
And the
is there
one
anything
thing
else that
I wanted to mention is that I have moved from progresspond.com over to martinlongman.substack.com. And you should be able to go there. We will have our podcast up there for the first time. That'll be nicely integrated. We'll see how that all works. Um, and yeah, so hopefully we will be back sooner than the last time. And as always, it's a pleasure, Brendan.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. By the way, you can also find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, uh,
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio, Pod something. There's a whole bunch of them out there. You can find us out there. And we will see you next time. Keep rocking. Hopefully, we'll see you sooner rather than later. Over and out.
Go Giants.
Go Birds.
Over and out.
Uh,